being able to feed in information, whether there's long line or absentee ballots not going to be expected for a week. And I just think we have to be able to tell that story, and we're going to be relying not only on our experts in the studio on election night, but also from the reporters who have been covering this for months on the nitty gritty of what's happening on the ground, so we can, because it's so close to the reason.
Election night happened and the narrative is kind of minimized. It starts with a lot of anticipation. We get those early results. Amy, Caitlin, we always obsess over the early bellwethers.
Right.
What does it tell us? We are handicapping every step of the way what it means. I think we need to craft that narrative along the lines of saying, you know what, we're not going to know how the story ends necessarily tonight. We have to be prepared for the possibility, not the probability, that we're not going to be able to say at some point, in the wee hours, this person has been elected president of the United States. And if we start with that assumption, maybe we'll be surprised at how normal the election seems and how early we get to go to bed that night. But if we're preparing for overtime, multiple directions, then I think it can be an exciting reporting. Our job in every step of the way is to be providing facts, providing details and data and pictures and reporting that show exactly what is happening. We know that the campaigns will spin it. We know that the lawyers will get involved. We know that if there's a close election, we can be into very much uncharted territory, Florida times 5 or 6. We don't know that that's going to happen. We need to be prepared for that to happen. And if it does happen, we'll cover that story. We'll be on the air, until, forever on election night. And then we'll be back when there's news to report. We'll be back continually. The people that are making the decisions of the network, quote unquote, calls that are saying, yes, a candidate has won a certain state, they're looking at math. They're looking at data. They're looking at complicated mathematical formulas that I can't begin to understand. They're not thinking first and foremost or at all about the TV audience. They're thinking about what the facts are. And the more that we can rely on those facts and let that shape us, look, this is what we know, this is what we don't know, this is what we see, this is what we're expecting, this is what's going on. That's the story. And the story, we can't get into any kind of a trap, and I know we won't. I think all the networks are going to be thinking of this. We can't get into the trap of telling a story that we're telling people is good, putting the end at 11 o'clock Eastern, and they're going to know who won. That I think would be a huge mistake.
Right. Or even, I'm thinking back to the 2018 election, and I was not on either one of your networks, sorry, so I did not follow the coverage that you were putting forward. But what a lot of folks were, especially for the cables, a lot of folks were noticing that as those first bellwether states came in, as Rick pointed out, the narrative started building among the folks who were there to fill time on these panels that, well, maybe this isn't a blue wave. Maybe Democrats aren't going to do as well as the expectation. And it took a good week before all of the results were in. And sure enough, Democrats end up picking up 40 seats. So how do you guard against that, as Rick, as you're talking about this narrative, this desire to use these early states or early returns or exit polls to draw conclusions? Because we just are, I don't know about you all, but for me, I just am desperate, right? It's finally election day. We get to open up all the presents that have been under the tree this entire year, and to not be able to draw any conclusions about it seems like asking folks a lot.
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate to say that you're drawing no conclusions from early returns. You learn something. You don't learn nothing. I think our coverage probably fell into the same rhythm that you were talking about when Kentucky comes back, Amy McGrath didn't win. Then, okay, maybe this is a long night for Democrats. Maybe it isn't what they expected. And then as more information comes in, that's part of the story. I think we need to avoid, overreading anything. Even if the first results come in and a candidate is up 10 points in Florida, there's still a lot we don't know about what votes are still out there. And I know there was another point that Ben Smith made in his column about avoiding the idea of precinct reporting. We've avoided that for the last election cycles. We've not done that. We've been using a percentage of expected vote. It's complicated by the fact that we don't really know what the expected vote is going to be in states that are drastically shifting to vote by mail. That's hard. But again, we're going to talk to the secretaries of state. We're going to talk to the election officials in all those places to try to be able to decide, okay, yes, we've got a 10-point lead for a candidate in a key early, in an early closing battleground state, but this is what we think we can tell about that. This is what we don't think we can tell about that. And, more often than not, elections are, they do fall into national themes. I think in the last one, the fact that Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania went the same direction kind of confirms that. We're going to see false flags. We're going to see misinformation, which we haven't even begun to address. And we're going to see, oddities, but they kind of a lot. We're going to see national storylines emerge. And I'm not saying we need to do that as much as just
The crime is political directly on ABC News. Coming up, your memories of... There's more politics with Amy Walter after the break. Support for The Takeaway comes from Hint, fruit-infused water with no calories or sweeteners. Hint has over 25 flavors, including watermelon water, in stores or delivered from drinkhint.com. Hint, water with a touch of true fruit flavor. You're listening to 90.9 WHYY. Coming up at 12:49, the coronavirus pandemic drastically changed the way candidates campaign. While some groups have decided to avoid canvassing for the time being, the conservative PAC, Americans for Prosperity Action, is supporting candidates in swing states by sending volunteers door to door. For more on that story, stay with us. It's 12:29. WHYY 90.9 covers news stories like no other. Answer the questions of, how does this affect you, your family, the community, and our world? Comprehensive, in-depth coverage. We provoke thought, and we provide perspective. Listen on the radio at 90.9, online at WHYY.org, on our WHYY app, or on your smart speaker. WHYY FM 90.9, Greater Philadelphia's NPR station. It's Politics with Amy Walter on The Takeaway. We've been talking about expectations for election night, and as always, we wanted to hear from you. We asked, what's your most memorable election night memory, and what are your expectations for election night 2020? Here's what you told us.
I remember the night when John F. Kennedy won for president. And I haven't calculated, somebody else can do the math, but I think I was around 10 or 11. And I still remember the thrill.
When I was in 6th grade, our teacher required us to memorize the names of world and local leaders. And so I knew exactly who Richard Nixon was. And I remember watching the television and rooting for him and feeling invested in him winning his second term.
I remember being at the coverage in 2000 when the major networks called Florida for a war. I ordered filet mignon from room service. Then as I started to enjoy that, I watched it sort of slowly unravel. This time around in 2020, I don't expect to have any sort of clarity on the NIGOs because of all the mail-in ballots.
In 2008, I spent 2 weeks in Miami-Dade County driving people to the polls and election monitoring after the unfortunate circumstances of the 2000 and 2004 election cycle. At the end of that, we went to the convention center, and I found that I was not alone. There were 5,000 election monitors, half of them lawyers, and we watched as Obama won the 2008 election. They didn't call Florida for 2 or 3 days after that. They said he only won by 2%. I think that was with the cheating.
Hey, this is Lori from Dallas. My most memorable election night memory is when Obama was elected and watching my mom's face baby and a black female, and her faith was just worth, there's no money price I could put on it. It was absolutely amazing. And expectations for election night 2020, man, I'm a little afraid it could be up in the air. I have no idea what to expect. The first time Obama was elected, I was very, very pregnant, and my husband, who is British, would not sign his citizenship papers until that night. So as soon as Obama was elected, he got out his citizenship papers. We had a picture with my big belly and him signing the papers because he finally felt like he wanted to be a citizen of a country that would elect Obama.
2008, I was 19. I'm a black woman, and when Obama won, I was at work. I couldn't get the night off, but I just cried. I was so excited. I lived in New Orleans at the time, going to a university, and I remember the more conservative kids freaking out and like breaking bottles and stuff. It was really bad. This election night in 2020, I don't know what to expect. I feel like it could go either way, and I'm really scared for the future of our country, especially now that USPS is being dismantled to try to impede voter turnout.
When I was stationed in Alaska, I was working overnight and found out that Hillary did not win the election and Trump would secure it. And I honestly was screaming and crying and a lot of things. And then when I went to work the next day, everybody was making fun of me because I was that one liberal in the military.
We always want to hear from you. 877-8 My Take is the number to call. It's Politics with Amy Walter on The Takeaway. After weeks of anticipation, Joe Biden made his pick official this week with the selection of Senator Kamala Harris as his running mate. Historic moment.
This morning, all across the nation, little girls woke up, especially little black and brown girls, who so often feel overlooked and undervalued in their communities. But today, just maybe, they're seeing themselves for the first time in a new way as the stuff of president and vice presidents.
And Joe, I'm so proud to stand with you. And I do so mindful of all the heroic and ambitious women before me whose sacrifice, determination, and resilience makes my presence here today even possible.
I connected with Valerie Jarrett, former senior advisor to President Barack Obama, to get her reaction to this moment.
When I heard that Vice President Biden had selected Kamala Harris was just elation. I've known the senator since she was Attorney General, and I watched her impressive record there negotiating with the banks who were foreclosing on homes of millions of Americans, and her tenacious determination to protect those folks who were in jeopardy. And then I worked with her closely since she's been in the Senate and watched her throughout her presidential campaign.